Hey there, thank you for joining us on Cinema Recap. Today we're going to go ahead and take a look at that teen comedy from 2002 called The Hot Chick. Spoilers ahead. So seeing that this is a Rob Schneider comedy, we have to start the movie with a flashback in ancient Ethiopia. It's here that we see the Princess Nawa trapped in a loveless marriage to the king who, from first impressions, probably isn't a great husband. And seeing that this is 50 BC, Princess Nawa couldn't simply file for that divorce, as might seem the obvious thing to do. Instead, she turns to black magic found in the form of a pair of earrings. Nawa puts on one earring and her slave puts on the other. Immediately, the two switch bodies, which leaves the slave in the body of the princess and vice versa. The good news is that Nawa is free from her loveless marriage. The bad news is that the slave now has to marry the king, but surely that has to be seen as an improvement to cleaning toilets for a living. Flash forward to the present, where we meet Jessica, a smoking hot high school cheerleader, who's also typically the most popular girl in school. Think of her as a Regina George character before Regina George was a thing. You see, Jessica is a bully of the highest order. No sooner do we meet her as she's bullying the fat girl of her high school, Hindenburg, cause why not give her a fat person's name? For no other reason than she enjoys doing it. Hindenburg is smart though, and asks,
"Why am I dressed like one of the Fenmore Foxes? Aren't they our hated crosstown rivals?"
But Jessica's a terrible person, so she effortlessly lies.
This year's theme is unity, for all cheerleaders.
It should be no surprise then that Hindenburg gets pelted and booed from the entire school the moment that she appears in front of him. And what does Jessica do? She laughs. Again, in case you needed reminding of how terrible a person she is. But the fun doesn't stop there for Jess. She's in class now, deciding to keep up her bullying ways. A goth girl named Eden gets a higher mark on a history project than she. So Jessica quips.
Well, that's not fair.
Yeah, in case you needed reminding again. You see, Jessica's in serious need for a character arc. But life isn't all bullying and making others feel worse about themselves. Seeing as Jessica is a teenage girl, she does what any teenage girl does in her spare time, presumably. She goes to the mall with her three best friends. Although this sequence is really just designed to show us all how incredibly hot Jess and her friends are. The highlight of this little montage comes when she buys a milkshake and then coaxes the poor horny server into giving it to her for free.
How much do I owe you?
Although to be fair, he's only human. One small misstep in this girl trip, however, comes when Jess and her gang bump into their crosstown clones, also enemies, the cheerleaders from another high school led by the spicy Bianca. And the two exchange some serious takedowns.
Are you doing something different or just hanging out with skankier friends?
See what I mean?
Bianca, you look really good too. Are you eating less or just barfing more?
Vicious teenage girl takedowns. Jess and her friends make one final stop while at the mall, and this is where the story really takes off. While browsing through an African-themed store, Jess comes across a pair of golden and magical, but she doesn't know that, earrings.
Earrings. With the envy of every girl at prom.
Now the owner of the store, however, refuses to sell them, claiming them to be a genuine artifact. But Jess isn't the type of girl to say no. And with the help of some Adam Sandler drumming, no seriously, Adam Sandler's in the movie just playing the drums, she manages to switch out another pair of earrings for the golden magical ones. Next up, it's time to meet the star of this movie. Well, he doesn't have a name, but he's played by Rob Schneider, so you can probably figure out the type of guy he is. And sure enough, we meet him in the middle of robbing a gas stop. But he's such a loser that he can't even do that right, being forced to steal free nachos and scratchies because the cash register's empty.
Is that all you got? $18?
It's as he's in the middle of this cash grab that Jessica and her friends pull up outside, wanting their car checked and filled up. Rob decides to try and sneak out, only to be roped into pretending to work for the gas station rather than getting caught.
The gas cap's on that side?
Keeping his head down, he checks the gas and pokes under the hood as if he knows what he's doing. And this is Jessica, so she can't help but belittle him just a little bit. But karma can be a real pain. And distracted by her own shenanigans, Jessica accidentally drops one of the earrings she just stole. She drives away in glee, and Rob, seeing the golden earrings, figures he may as well steal that too. Jess arrives home and we get a few more setups, sure to be paid off later. We get to see Jess being an ace shot on the basketball court. We also see her catching her little brother trying on one of her bras. And then we meet Billy, Jessica's boyfriend. When they meet, we catch a cute little charade greeting that they do to tell us that the two are just the cutest, and possibly in love. Jessica sneaks down to meet him, and for a moment the two bask in one another's love. But Billy's a teenage boy, so he's looking for one thing in particular: for Jessica to come on a weekend snowboarding trip, of course. He's desperate for her to come, but Jess is adamant that she can't.
Millie, I told you I'm not having sex with you.
Aw, come on, Jess. He probably just really wants to take you snowboarding. Well, that night, Jessica's on the phone to her bestie, April, waxing lyrical about how amazing her life is. For some reason, she hasn't noticed that she has only one earring on. Meanwhile, across town, Rob Schneider's character is being a genuine slob when he finds the earring he stole and throws it on for a laugh. Jessica wakes up the next morning to find some changes in her that health class really didn't prepare her for. She freaks out, naturally. She steals some of her father's clothes and sneaks out of the house, and then heads to school to track down April, her best friend. And the two meet on the school's bleachers, where Jess pleads with April to believe her story, that she is her best friend trapped in a man's body. We shouldn't be surprised when April doesn't believe her, even going as far as to pepper spray Jessica in a bid to get her the hell away. Jess takes that tumble, ends up in the dirt, where she continues her pleas to a fleeing April.
Do you remember in 2nd grade when you moved here from Arkansas?
April hears that story and begins to believe, but in order to prove it, they do their super secret best friend handshake that goes on for quite a while, but also proves that Jessica is telling the truth. Now, finally, April believes her. Jess heads over to April's house where they unpack this situation. Or rather, Jessica undergoes a minor makeover so she doesn't feel so gross. There's waxing. There's some nose hair pulling. There's, of course, Jessica showing April her penis because girls want to know.
I've only seen a couple, but that's definitely top 5.
Yikes. So the next morning, things are much the same, being that Jessica's still in a man's body.
Tell me I'm beautiful.
Their next move is to convince her other two friends of what's happened. They do end up believing her, but not before Jessica gets to hearing what her friends really think of her.
What about the class trip to Six Flags?
She took so long in the bathroom, we all missed the bus.
Her friends believe her now, thank God, but only after Jess shows them her penis.
That's definitely gonna cost you a few votes for prom queen.
Guys, it's a high school comedy. Of course, we're gonna have some penis jokes. The friends come together to try and figure out how this happened to Jessica. They point out that it's probably one of the girls that hates Jessica who did this. Information that shouldn't be shocking, but all Jess can say is,
What are you talking about? People don't hate me.
she concludes that people only hate her because they think she's perfect. Yeah, why not? But she's having a hard time, so her friends let her have this one. Meanwhile, Jess sneaks back home to collect a few things, but ends up bumping into her father. Luckily, her father is super racist and assumes Jess to be their Mexican gardener because why not?
See.
Jess goes along with it, does some gardening, and even does a little male bonding. Although the conversation soon turns towards sex with Jessica's mom, which is a tad off-putting.
We'd be going at it, she could still find a way to twist around and kiss me on the mouth.
Senor.
That's a little too much information, and these aren't even my parents. Now the girl's first stop is Hindenburg, the girl Jess was bullying in the first scene. They think that because she's good at science, she must be responsible. Hindenburg rightly points out.
April, it's physically impossible for a woman to transform into a man overnight.
Anyways, Hindenburg wouldn't help Jessica even if she could. But a small story about Jess having to shave her chin every morning has Hindenburg connecting with her. And soon Hindenburg is on team Get Jessica's Body Back. Their next stop is the House of Eden, the other girl we saw Jessica bully. After a quick penis flashing show, Eden is on their side too. And she then theorizes that this most likely is a direct result of black magic.
There's some powerful occult magic at work here, or voodoo, or Santeria.
Eden then goes to explain that Santeria is an ancient form of witchcraft that originated in Brazil. This immediately has the girls pointing fingers at Bianca, Jess's crosstown cheerleading rival. And as luck has it, Bianca hangs out at a club downtown.
Yeah, tonight's ladies' night and we all get in for free.
Jessica's not impressed by this little outburst. Before heading to the club, however, they decide it's time for a 90s style makeover montage, complete with Backstreet Boys references just in case you forgot how old this movie really was. But the effect leaves Jessica looking not quite as shabby as before. Somewhat passable. Still pretty hideous, to be fair. Now, the signs of someone practicing Santeria is a scorpion tattoo on their body. So the plan is to hit the club and try and find that tattoo on Bianca. But not before we get some shenanigans. While at the bar, Jess tries to order a bunch of cocktails only to be gay-shamed by the bartender.
Better make that last one a brewski.
She also tries to pee in a urinal for the first time, but makes it look as if she's wielding a fire hose.
It's going everywhere.
Eventually, Jessica finds Bianca on the dance floor. They engage in a dance-off as Jess searches her body for that tat. But alas, even tearing the back of her shirt open reveals her to be without it, and thus not responsible for this curse. Although before the night's over, Jess manages to get into a fight with a local douche. She actually fights the guy off, but only because she brings her own special moves to the ring.
Some kind of tight queer dope.
With no other options left, there's only one thing that Jess can do. Gotta sneak back into high school and continue to take classes without anyone noticing. Okay, why not? She manages to get hired as the school janitor, but only because she and the school principal bond over their love for the trombone, which is a sentence I never thought I'd say. And now that Jess is back in school, she bumps into her boyfriend Billy. But it's a comedy, so she has to do it in the creepiest, most ridiculous way ever, in the bathroom. Should be no surprise that Billy didn't want to talk. But Jess isn't the only one with boy troubles. April's boyfriend returns from his skiing trip with Billy, and he's covered in hickeys. Like covered in them. He lies and tells April it's a rash.
Ski rash.
But she's not 12, so she sees right through that. Meanwhile, we see the other Jessica rush into a convenience store and steal a pack of tampons. Life isn't going too well for him either, apparently. Back at her day job, and Jess gets roped into playing some one-on-one b-ball with her father. Jessica uses this time to talk to her father about marriage, giving him some tips on how to bring the spark back.
Sometimes when a woman is ignoring you, that's when she wants you the most.
Now that night, at Eden's home, and using the magic of the internet, the girls discover the reason for Jessica's malady: the earrings. They hurry to the store where they stole them from, and the owner tells the girls all about Nawa and her escape from marriage. But then she says one more thing.
But she didn't know that she had to bring the earrings back together.
Seems kinda obvious to me, but it's nice to have it confirmed. And besides, now the girls have a goal: find that other earring. They start by putting up posters, asking around at the mall, but I'm not liking their chances. Meanwhile, seeing as Jessica's working as a janitor at school, she manages to overhear Billy and April's boyfriend talking about her. April's boyfriend is all about the sex, and using women for that and that only. Jessica especially, cause she's hot. This doesn't make Jess very happy.
You asshole.
But Billy comes through, telling his friend that it's not like that with Jessica. That it's about more than just trying to sleep with her. This is such a revelation that it leaves Jess in tears.
Somebody shit in the locker.
Later that day, Jessica's at her home working, when she gets talking to her mother. Her mom mistakes her compliments for flirting, and soon she pounces like a cougar at its prey. Jess rebuffs by claiming that she's gay, and then to ease her embarrassed mother, offers her a makeover. This goes horribly wrong as her father walks in on Jess washing her mother's hair. The father throws Jess out and then jumps into the tub with his wife, claiming that he should have done this years ago. Well, if nothing else goes right, at least Jess managed to help her parents rekindle that spark. So that night, Jess and April are lamenting how Jess won't return to her body in time to go to the prom. Priorities. But April has an idea. One that seems crazy. What if, hear me out, they go together? Jess is ecstatic about this idea, thinking it'll be the perfect way for April to get back at her boyfriend too. Although we get this very real sense that April isn't doing this out of friendship or revenge, but because she's starting to develop feelings for her best friend, who just so happens to be trapped inside a man's body, and not a very attractive one at that. Later that night, Billy's in tears as he's driving down the road. When he spots the other Jessica strutting, he pulls up and tries to talk to her, but she's acting like she doesn't know him, which obviously hurts Billy a lot. Jess calls him Bobby, and then asks for his car keys. And Billy, being the little simp that he is, gives them to her, only to watch as she drives away, and then comes back and tries to run him over. Sorry, Billy, I think Jess wants to see other people. Now, Hindenburg's watching TV and eating because, well, yeah. Anyway, the story on the news is about a local mugger, a beautiful woman who lures men into alleys and then beats the hell out of them. The most recent beating was caught on tape, and wouldn't you know it, it's the other Jessica. Now it's the day of prom, and Jess, in a moment of weakness, sneaks home and puts her prom dress on. Her little brother finds her, but he knew all along that it was Jessica. Because he's perceptive, and he saw her shoot a basketball one time. But he also tells her that he accepts her no matter what, which is kinda sweet, and seriously helping her with this whole character arc thing. Now back at school, the principal has just come across a mugshot of the body that Jess is in, that of a criminal. Tonight's the prom, and we get the sense that Jessica's worlds are about to collide. Jess and April arrive at prom and immediately get to work trying to make April's boyfriend jealous. They stand right where he can see and then kiss. Of course, the BF sees it and immediately storms off in a rage.
He spilled his drink all over his date.
Jessica's thrilled, but April's more interested in kissing her best friend a little more.
We already got it.
When she asks what she's doing, April confesses.
You're my best friend and now you're a guy. It's meant to be.
It's not quite the story of true love that Jess was looking for, and she has no choice but to turn April down. But it's not because she doesn't like April, it's because she's in love with Billy. And then, just as she says this,
I'm in love with Billy. He's just gonna have to accept me as I am.
Billy arrives. And sure enough, Jess goes to Billy and tries to convince him that she is Jessica.
Get away.
And if he truly loves him, it won't matter. Somehow, through the power of screenwriting, he manages to convince Billy to kiss him. It goes about as you'd expect.
You're a 30-year-old dude.
Hands up who saw that one coming.
Billy.
Not that it matters, because everything's starting to reach a crescendo. The principal, seeing Jessica at the prom, calls the police. And Jess's parents too, and April's. They all find out that Jess isn't who she says she is. She's gonna have some serious explaining to do, and somehow, I don't think a secret handshake's gonna cut it. Jessica wants to mourn the loss of Billy some more. But just then, she's told that they found her real body working at a strip club, and they have to go there now. So they do. The other Jessica's working as a stripper, dancing hard for those tips. And as she scrambles for them, she comes face to face with her real body. With the help of her gal pals, Jessica manages to get the imposter to talk to her, to try and convince her to give the earring back so they can switch bodies. The other Jessica's sympathetic though, and offers up a deal.
Just let me make it another $500 tonight, okay?
Jessica's natural reaction is to try and strangle the imposter. This, however, only sees her reprimanded by the club owner, as the club has a very strict don't strangle the strippers policy rule. Not that it matters, because Jess was able to grab that earring while strangling her. Now she's about to put the earring on and reclaim her body, but before she does, she and April have a heart-to-heart. But she promises that no matter what, they'll always be best friends.
Forever.
It's around now that April's ex rocks up to the club. He sees Jessica working and orders a lap dance, and he's loving it too, until Jess starts to transform before his eyes. One minute she's a hot chick, and the next, well, it's Rob Schneider in panties. Across the room, Jessica's back to her old self, and looking pretty good in a suit. She and her friends are ecstatic, all of them. Even the ones she once bullied are now her buds. Outside, Jessica's family's there waiting for her, as are the cops, there to arrest her imposter. No one seems concerned about Jessica wearing a suit or having been missing for a week. Everyone's just happy she's back. But perhaps Billy is the most grateful. He sees Jess and attempts to apologize and forgive her at the same time.
I don't care that you took my money, stole my dad's car.
The two kiss and everyone literally watches on, just happy that the two lovebirds are able to figure things out. Except for April. She eyes the imposter in the back of the police car, clearly wanting to break off a piece of that. As the kiss goes on, and on, and on, the imposter flees the back of the police car and manages to get into another car that pulled over and gave him a ride. Wait, this is the creepiest moment of the film. The driver is the bartender from earlier, and the look he gives the imposter suggests that his night out is only just beginning. But none of that matters. Jessica graduates from high school with her friends, the new and the old. And that wraps it up. Thanks for chilling with us on our recap of The Hot Chick, produced by Happy Madison Productions, released in 2002. Till next time.